Last week, Disney Dreamlight Valley had its very first showcase, showing us everything new coming to the game in the next year, with some of it being free and a big bunch of it being paid as well. And seeing as transparency is not exactly Gamesloft's strong point at the moment, I went through the entire FAQ forum and found everything you need to know about the Disney Dreamlight Valley updates, because there's a few things they didn't say in the showcase that they mentioned in the FAQ that are actually really important. So to start us off, let's go over everything free coming to the game in the next year. The first free update in the game is going to introduce Jack Skellington. Now, as of right now, we don't really know if it's just the character or if he's going to be getting a house as well. And we don't really know anything about what kind of quests we're going to be carrying out for him, but it looks like we'll be getting him on December 5th. We also know a festive star path is on the way, which again we assume to be December 5th. And so far, all we know about it is that there's going to be an ice rink in it and a Christmas outfit for Belle as well. But possibly the biggest free update coming our way is going to be the introduction of multiplayer. Now, this looks to be multiplayer basically in the same way Animal Crossing New Horizons did it, where they can not only check out your island, but also go to the shops to see if there's any items they want as well. You'll also be able to exchange items and gifts if you want to, but they do stress that the multiplayer feature is something they wish to expand on in future updates. From the FAQ section, we now know that multiplayer will be up to 4 players. And this will also be crossplay with the exception of PlayStation. So as long as you or your friend don't own a PlayStation, you can play with them no matter which way they play Disney Dreamlight Valley. One thing to keep in mind though, if you are on a console that has an online membership, you will have to pay for that in order to access the multiplayer feature, which unfortunately is pretty standard on consoles. We also know that the multiplayer is going to be base game only, so it won't work with the expansion pass whatsoever, meaning that you can only bring people to the base island and not anywhere else. Along with the announcement of the multiplayer, we also got a roadmap for the free content over the next year. Now, they haven't really given us an indication as to whether this is the entirety of the new content or if this is just a snippet, but here's what we know so far. So late winter 2024, which I assume to mean January or February, will bring a brand new Monsters Inc. realm, seeing both Mike and Sully be introduced to the valley, and I assume, although they didn't show it, that they're also going to have somewhat of a house on the valley as well. This is likely to be similar to the introduction of Belle, with each of them coming with their own sets of quests to carry out as well. Early spring, we will see another new villager. The popular guess at the moment is Daisy Duck, given the boat that we can see in the picture. Honestly, if it means Donald Duck has less tantrums, I am very much happy for her to come to the valley, although I must admit, not really my favourite character. Late spring, they've hinted at another realm, which we think has to be Mulan, right? Like, they use the word dynasty, and there's cherry blossoms, so I feel pretty confident in assuming it's her. And then summer 2024 will bring Tatiana, along with a bunch of new food as well, which makes sense, so I guess this will go alongside her quests and her story. They also said that each major update will bring a brand new star path as well, so that's something else to look forward to, although I don't know why they're talking about it as if it's a free update. Well, let's be real, all the best items are in the paid section, but we'll roll with it. One thing that I didn't really find clear is all about the main story. We know that Chapter 1 of the main game has already finished, but what I can't tell is if Chapter 2 is the DLC or if Chapter 2 is coming for free. So hopefully they'll clear this up for us. I'm assuming with all these new characters coming in though, there has to be an overarching story, but honestly at this point, I'm not too sure. That's it for the free content, but before we talk about the paid content, I quickly want to cover the whole Apple Arcade thing. So if you didn't already know, Disney Dreamlight Valley is coming to Apple Arcade. Now, the nice thing about Apple Arcade is it doesn't allow microtransactions, so this version of the game will not have the premium store nor the star paths, but it will include the DLC. So this means if you already pay for Apple Arcade and you either have a MacBook, an iPhone, or an iPad, you can play not only the base game, but also the DLC for your base monthly price. The only downside to this, however, is that your save will not be carried over between any devices. So if you already have Disney Dreamlight Valley on PC or Nintendo Switch, and also have Apple Arcade, you will not be able to move your save over, sadly. But the nice thing is this probably will bring in a bunch of new people to the game, and Apple Arcade is included in crossplay, just not cross-save. Alright, next let's get on to the paid expansion pass, and first I'm going to kind of give you all the information, and then we'll finish with how I feel about it. Now, I must admit, when I first heard what price this was going to be, which is $30, I was a little bit skeptical, but I'll give them some credit. There is an awful lot of content for your price. The expansion is taking place on a brand new island, with 3 different biomes for you to explore, with a desert, a rainforest, and this watery type biome that seems filled with different ruins. Not only does this map seem to be pretty large, it also introduces height into the mix, with you not only being able to explore across the land, but up it as well. This will also introduce a whole storyline that runs separate to the main story, which seems to be centered around Jafar trying to uncover the ancient artifacts scattered around Eternity Isle. But in classic Jafar way, he kind of messes it up, and he enlists your help to try and fix things. The interesting thing is that the DLC will be releasing in 3 separate waves. The first wave will arrive on December 5th and will include Rapunzel, whose house looks amazing, Eve, and Gaston, each of them with different quests to complete and help progress the story. Wave 2 will then be arriving in spring 2024 and seems to be involving what I think is a more Atlantis-themed story alongside a new villager. And then finally, summer 2024 will be the conclusion to this chapter. Now, this area does seem to include an awful lot of content other than the story as well. Each biome will come with new pets. These are monkeys, capybaras, and snakes. There'll also be new food items and recipes, new plants, forageables, craftables, and furniture as well, including a auto cooker and a sprinkler. There'll also be a brand new tool as well, which is an hourglass, which seems to be your source of magic in this realm. And will also allow you to find hidden treasure in the ground in both this area and the base game area as well. The DLC also has this introduction of a brand new board game, and they did stress that both items and character homes can be placed in either area, so not just the expansion area. And it also comes with its very own item count, so it's a whole new area to decorate if you're into that as well. The expansion pass, if you are buying it extra and already own the base game, will cost you $30, and this will include all 3 of the waves. However, it is worth noting this looks to be only purchasable with money and not with moonstones. So if you've been doing your dream snaps every single day, sadly this will not help you with the price of the game. Now here's where things get a little bit less exciting. The expansion pass can only be played on the device in which you purchased it on. Meaning that if you both play on the Nintendo Switch and the PC, and you buy the expansion pass on the Nintendo Switch, you will not be able to access that area on your PC. Now, they have stated the only exception to this is the brand new Hourglass tool, which will be able to use cross-platform, but that is it. The only thing that isn't that clear from what they wrote in the FAQs is if you then purchase the expansion pass on your PC, if you'll be able to play cross-platform like that. Either way, I'm not the biggest fan of this. If you're going to label this a cross-platform game, I'm not sure you can, if not everything is going to carry across, but that's just my opinion. Speaking of opinions, let me just give down a rundown of how I feel about this. We'll start with the good. I'm glad to see that free content is in fact continuing into the next year. Although admittedly, if you don't buy the DLC, I'm not sure how much game time this will provide, especially because there has been no talk about more Scrooge items so far. As right now, I feel already that after a week of their new updates, I'm already kind of bored. So I genuinely don't know if this is going to be enough to keep players who aren't willing to spend any money. I'm also very excited to see what people will do with multiplayer and excited to see how they're going to expand it. I really truly hope they bring in something like minigames, something that Animal Crossing didn't have, to make multiplayer more worthwhile. Now for the expansion pass, I feel kind of torn about my opinion. Content-wise, I think there is more than enough for the money. It does seem to be a very sizable expansion pass. We can see already there's going to be at least 4 new characters, a whole storyline, and all the new biomes as well. My issue is, I'm not sure I agree with everything they've paywalled. My first big issue is the characters they've decided to paywall. Not only have they put one of the most popular princesses behind a paywall, but they've also split up characters between paid and unpaid. So you've got Mother Gothel, who's free, and then Rapunzel, who's paid. You've got Beauty and the Beast, but Gaston is paid. And you're splitting up Wally and Eeowna, which is heartbreaking. But I feel like this is all very intentional. But although I don't like that, I think the worst thing is they've kind of paywalled quality of life features, which kind of brings me back to the whole, can they really claim that they don't paywall core features when a sprinkler and an auto cooker is only available in the DLC? And finally, the other thing I'm worried about is how this is going to run on mobile, but more importantly, because it's probably weaker than a mobile phone, the Nintendo Switch. Because historically, every single time GameSoft do an update, the Nintendo Switch breaks for a little bit before they then have to do a performance fix to get it to perform half decently again. So I'm very, very worried to see how this is all going to perform on it. But I will definitely be buying it and showcasing it for you guys so you can decide for yourself. And as always, let me know in the comments down below what you think. And if you're feeling burnt out of farming sims, you might want to watch this video, which shows you a bunch of upcoming games that has no farming in it.